All right, welcome back. Mount Panorama, or Bathurst as it's uh, known as well. This is a really fun track. If you are new to it, it is going to take some practice, however, especially in the mountain section. A little frustrating at first to learn, but once you start to get the hang of it, it is a lot of fun to drive. Very popular track. I think there'll be a lot of participation. Um, Now, it's been a while since the Ray has been here, at least in the trophy series. I think like 2 years or something like that. Um, Changes to the Ray, obviously, since then, and probably some updates to the track. It is a lot bumpier than I remember. Um, and yeah, it feels just a bit different. So if you are familiar with the track, it may take a tank or two just to get the feel for the difference in the car and the track combination. If you are new to this track, it is going to take some practice to get that mountain down. It is tough. However, we got I think, a pretty decent setup here, so this will help get you on track faster. Um, Ride height 33. It is up a bit. There are a whole lot of curbs here you're going to go over. Some on purpose, some not, and having that ride height up is going to make things easier as well. Again, the track is pretty bumpy, so having that ride height up is just going to make it a little less disruptive. ARB is 0. There almost can be an argument to have that turned up maybe a notch, just going over some of those curbs. It may soften it up a little bit, but however, you do need rotation, so I do have that ARB at 0. Damper compression 18, again, very bumpy track and curbs, so it is softened up a little bit just to get over things with reduced disruption. Rebound 0. Brake bias, you know my channel, I'm usually higher than most of you, 57.5 for me. For you, it's something different, but it's probably going to be a bit on the higher side of what you normally like. There is believe it or not, on the mountain, there's a lot of uphill and downhill braking, so probably a little bit higher than what you're used to. Spring rates, low as they go, front and rear, that's pretty standard for me. That just gives some more mechanical grip. Cambers, you know my channel. They're not symmetrical. 1.9 on the left, 2.2 on the right. Go with the higher values if you want to keep them symmetrical. Toe in 1.3. Yeah, not as high as maybe a lot of other tracks. Tire temps here aren't super high. There are some very high demand corners, but then you got these huge straights. So tire temps don't get up. I haven't turned it up just because I don't want that front end as sharp as it could be, especially going down the hill. You'll see in the track guide, if you're not familiar with this track, having that front end too pointy is going to make the rear want to step out a little bit more, and that is going to lead you into some trouble. So 1.3 for the toe in, yeah, spring rate slow as they go. Cambers cranked up. That rear has to do a lot of work. 1.5 left and right. Toe in, 0.3 on the rear. That again, just to try and get those tire temps up without any crazy amount of toe in. Again, those very twisty sections. You don't, well, for me personally, I don't want to have that back end any more unstable than it needs to be. So that is a 0.3 on the rear. Now, ride height in the rear 40. So the top is 30. What the heck was it? I don't even remember. The top is 33. The bottom is 40, the rear is 40. Now, if you look at the ride height, it's 57 in the rear and 57 in the front. That is not a lot of rake, however, that is to promote a little bit more understeer. Yeah, very, very tricky corners going down the mountain, and having too much oversteer is going to end up with a lot of trouble into some of those walls. ARB is 10. You still do need to rotate the car, but having the rake pretty low does add a little bit of understeer, which balances out the ARB a bit. You're still able to rotate the car, but the back end is more compliant than if there was a higher rake. So that is why it is set up that way. 4 clicks on the damper compression, again, just to soften things up a little bit. And rebound is 16, again, soften things up a little bit as well. When you're getting on the throttle, especially downhill, you do want that weight transfer to get to the rear as much as possible, which is tricky when you are going down a mountain. So in 13 liters, that is going to do the race for me. For you, 14 liters might be better. I am a little lower on fuel usage than most people. 14 is definitely going to get you around the track safe. 13 is going to be a little bit closer to the wire for some of you. Very tall gear stack, yes, very tall. I did try a tall gear stack. You reach the rev limit before you're even down the mountain. So very tall it is. And fortunately very tall also through the corners, especially up the mountain. It doesn't feel super, but yeah, there's just no arguing. Going down the mountain, tall, you reach the rev limit ridiculously early, so you have to go with very tall. Yeah, so we'll get into the guide itself here. Track is 29. I've been in a little bit of practice sessions here. 27, 32. It's all pretty similar as far as performance goes. I didn't notice a big difference between the lower and the higher. Track usage 35% as usual. So I didn't have that queued up to turn 1. So the one thing I'll say before we get into this, if you are struggling for lap time, and the reason isn't you're crashing on the mountain, the reason probably is you are getting on the throttle too late. There are so many straights after some of these corners. You have to be on the throttle before the apex. If you are not on the throttle before the apex, yes, your delta is going to go green into the corner, but when you exit the corner, you are going to lose 3-4 times the amount that you gained going into the corner. So if you're really struggling and not on cold tires, you're probably just late on the throttle. Very important on this track. I mean, in general, it's important for every track, but this one especially so, just because there are so many big straights after these corners. You have to be on the throttle early. So coming into turn 1, big battle here. You're going to lose a tremendous amount of time if you are fighting. Also can be very crashy if you are fighting. So 50 board here is very hard to see if there's a car in front of you. I use the light post here as the marker. So just before it, getting on the brakes, shifting down into second gear, pretty hard on the brakes. Now this is actually technically an uphill corner. Releasing the brakes as you turn in, and you have to really get tucked into the camber of this corner to go as fast as you can. Picking up the throttle well before the apex, very important. As I said, I caught a little bit of the curb here, maybe not ideal, but it doesn't cost you too much time, especially with the suspension changes. And then very important, use all of the screen stuff on exit. It, again, with the suspension, it's not too disruptive, but you have to really open up that exit to go quickly. And this is leading to a very big passing opportunity in battling. Just watch out. I sure found that from what I remember, the track is a lot bumpier, and so going side by side down this straight may not be as easy as what it used to be. Alright, so coming into the next one, in fourth gear, again, you can brake late into this one, but you will lose so much time on exit. And basically looking for the 50 board here, you can see it if there's a car in front of you. Just before the 50 board, shifting down into second gear. Not too hard on the brakes. Cold tires, a little bit harder on the brakes, but once the tires are warm, it's just a light braking just to load up the front end, get the car turned in. And again, I should be on the throttle probably by this point. I was a little bit late on the throttle pickup. And yeah, just picking up the throttle nice and early and unwind. and use all of the track on exit. Again, if you're going side by side into that one and you're on the outside, you got to have a lot of trust that the guy on the inside is going to leave you space and not run you into that wall. Big passing opportunity here. Watch out for guys ducking up the inside. You want to catch the inside of that. I don't know if that's considered actually a corner. This is very tricky. All these signs at one point in iRacing, they had some different signs on here with different colors. They are all the same now, which does not make life so easy. But basically, as you get around the corner and have the car pointed straight, you're looking for these signs here pointed at the trees. It's going to take a little practice, a little feel. Getting on the brakes, down into second. I could have been over a little wider. That's obviously going to make things a little bit faster the more you open up this corner, but watch out, there will be people going for the inside if you leave the door open and they are close. And again, getting tucked into this corner, releasing the brakes as you really get tucked in and picking up the throttle nice and early. Tight as you dare against that wall. On exit here, the track has some weird little slopes and stuff. Your back end is gonna want to step out maybe just a little, get a little twitchy. It's not really a big deal. Easy to catch that slide. And then just watch out, there is a little disruption here. Try to avoid it. It's again not a very big deal, not going to cost you any real time, but the smoother the better. So using all the track here, working your way up. Second gear, I like to hold it until you kind of get around the bend here, and then shift up into third. This is quite a steep slope, so make sure you've reached the rev limit before you shift up. Now this one, you'll be surprised. Get a tight line here. If you are out here, you do lose a little time, not a lot, but a little bit of time. So make sure you're going up the inside here. It does take a 5/100ths off your time, not a lot, but a little bit. And again, it used to be you really had to get over here to open up this corner to take it full throttle, but not anymore. So not quite all the way over to the edge. You can take this corner full throttle. It's no problem. Still minimal steering input through it. So it's a little faster not to go all the way over to the edge, but you do have to get all the way over to the edge for this one. So once you get on the curb, just turning in full throttle. Cold tires, probably going to want to lift, not this early, but as you get towards the apex, have a little bit of lift on cold tires, because this is a very I think underestimated corner, right up tight against these curbs. You can get on them a little bit. So what you have to watch out for, and especially in a race, this curb is got a upward slope and then a downward slope. You get on top of this curb, it is going to want to suck you into that grass, and if that happens, you are going to be coming across the track and saying hello to those to that wall on the left. So if there's a car in front of you and you see them get onto this grass, just be aware of that. They are probably coming across the track. Some people will be able to save it and stay on the grass and then watch the rejoin. But a lot of times they will be coming across the track. Very underestimated corner. This one can catch you out very easy. In third gear, you may be shifting up into fourth if you were drafting. So as you come to the sign here, just a little bit of a lift. Very, very tricky down here. You are turning a little bit with the wheel, and if you are on the brakes at this point, it becomes very, very slidey. So once the wheel gets straight, then getting on the brakes as you're pointed for the green stuff in the curb here, you want to go over that. You do not want to be over here, anywhere over here at all. Keeping that wheel straight, minimal steering inputs as you come down here. Very important to minimize the steering inputs. And again, once the wheel is straight, once you are over those curbs, a little bit more brake again. Just to get the car slowed down. You do want to hold a tight line right up against the sign here. Again, you do not want to be on the left side. That is going to cost you a lot of time. and then just releasing the brake, picking up the throttle. Again, minimize the steering inputs, get tucked into that corner. This is just going to take a lot of practice to get it right in the feel. And then again, full throttle. Well, you saw when I was on full throttle, nice and early. You can lose a huge amount of time through this section, assuming you don't crash if you don't get it right. So really watch out for that. And if you are in a race, you know, if you don't know the guy in front of you, just be careful. If someone is real timid about this section, they'll go really slow. You can really pile into them pretty easy. So third gear, shifting up into third gear. As you come around the corner here, a lift, a little bit of throttle. You do not want to be stomping on the throttle here. Coming around here wide and slidey is not good. You want to be set up, have the wheel straight, and just starting to brake at the sign. Yes, you can brake later, but you are going to be in so much trouble. This is a very, very steep hill, and if you the further you get, the harder it is to brake, the more chance you're going to lock up, the more chance you're going to spin out, all of that stuff. So getting on the brakes, not stomping on them, but getting on the brakes at the top before the slope, and then just releasing the brakes, picking up a little bit of throttle, and getting turned into the camber of this corner, which is very important. If your tire is not into this groove, you are going to run wide, and you are going to say hello to that Falcon sign. And it doesn't usually end well. And then full throttle again, very, very early. If you are late on the throttle here, you are going to lose so much time, 5/10 a second, unless you're drafting off someone. So really get on the throttle early there. Again, very big passing opportunity here for this one. Huge draft. So yeah, have fun out there. And then looking for the pavement here. The little pavement piece, that the little service road, just turning in there full throttle. You can see already starting to get to the rev limit even with a very tall stack, and that's without draft. And then yeah, just come around the curb here, and then this is uphill braking, but it's off camber. What you're looking for is this west track sign just before the 100 board. Getting on the brakes, down into second, very hard on the brakes, and then turning in and releasing the brakes as you're turning in. Very important to release the brakes, and again picking up the throttle nice and early. Probably it is a little better to catch a bit of that curb just to open up this corner a bit more, but it's also very important on exit to use all of this curb. You go over this curb, you get an X. Cold tires, you're probably going to pick up a few X's here as you come around this corner. If you're way off, if you're all four tires on the grass cutting this corner, it is a painful slowdown. I think it's 2.5 seconds or something like that. So really watch out, don't get too greedy. But use all that curb on exit. Surprisingly, it will cost you time if you don't use that curb on exit. And again, using all of this curb on exit, again, if you don't use the whole track, you didn't come through here fast enough. But again, watch out, it will want to pull you into the grass and sand there. You do pick up an X. And last lap especially, going to be big battles for this corner, so watch out. This is downhill and this is off camber as well. So basically this last light standard here, just past it, getting on the brakes, down into second gear, very hard on the brakes. Yep, again, downhill braking, and it is off camber on exit, so watch out. And then just, yeah, snatch a little bit of the curbs here, but still on the throttle nice and early, and then using all of the curbs on exit. Again, you go over that curb, you pick up an X, no big deal, as long as you don't do it 17 times. And then just use all of the track on exit. Now, one thing I will mention just as a race tip, you're battling for this corner on the last lap and things go wrong and you cut this corner, there is a big slowdown and the line comes at you right away, and if you have not burned off that slowdown before you cross the line, you get a huge time penalty, like 30 seconds or 40 seconds or something crazy like that. So watch out if you are unfortunately the guy who was on the inside and got caught there and get a slowdown. You have to burn it off before the line, which is right here. It comes at you very quickly. So just be aware of that. So yeah, it's a 120.9. I left a little time on the table. I think that should be a pretty competitive time. However, I know this track is very popular. There are going to be a lot of fast people here, probably blowing this time away, but this should get you competitive. So I'll run this out at full speed. Good luck, stay safe. That's not so easy on this track, and we'll see you next time.